Pranams to one and all. Today we will see some features of Language Lab. This is Dr. G. Surya Prasad working as an assistant professor in Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan. The pictures and the subject matter used here are downloaded through internet. The author expresses his gratefulness. Now let's begin to learn about Language Lab. Generally, language labs are established to learn foreign languages effectively. Foreign languages such as English, Germany, French can be learnt very easily through the language labs. There will be more emphasis on speaking and listening the concerned language in the language labs, so that the learner learns a foreign language very easily through these language labs. Generally, the language lab will be set in computer rooms like this. A language lab is a dedicated space to learn foreign language where students can access audio or audio visual materials. Language lab allows a teacher to listen to the audio of student, and also he can manage the student's audio, which was actually delivered to the individual students through the headsets in their cabins. Now let's see some history points of this language lab. The first language lab was established at the University of Grenoble in 1908. A notable method to learn foreign language, namely audiolingual method of foreign language learning, was developed in the 1940s. This method relied upon repeated listening and speaking drills of the concerned language. Researchers found that language labs are very much suitable for this audiolingual method. Since the emphasis on speaking and listening of the concerned language is taken place in language lab. The purpose of language lab is to provide more and more practice. It involves the students to actively participate in language learning exercises. Since the emphasis on speaking and listening is given in the language labs, the students get more and more practice, and they will be actively participating in classroom exercises. In a traditional class of more than 10 students, each student gets just less than 1 minute of speaking practice. Just less than 1 minute of speaking practice. While in a language lab, all students in the class can speak simultaneously without distracting each other. Thus, the students get more and more practice of speaking in language lab. Now, let us look at the components of language lab. There are five components in a language lab, such as computer, headset, media player or recorder, LAN, local area network, and a server. The students and the teacher will have computers. There will be a server computer which will be managed by the teacher, and the remaining computers that are available in different cabins are equipped with the LAN, local area network. Both the teacher and the students wear the headsets, which will block the outside disturbances. The students have a media player or a recorder to listen to the audio or to record the speech. Thus, there will be five components in a language lab. Now, let us look at what language labs offer us. Through the language lab, text, images, audio and video can easily be integrated. Teacher can alter these materials as per their requirement. Learners can record their voice and play back the recordings. They can interact with each other and the teacher also. The teachers can control the learners' computers and can track the learners' work through the server computer. The language lab provides self-access for independent learning, which includes access to the resources outside the classroom, such as video, audio, etc. Now, let us see why should we use a language lab in the teaching of a language. By the usage of a language lab in language teaching, students get more time to speak in the language concerned. In traditional classrooms, the students get just 1 minute of time to speak each. Whereas in a classroom with language lab, the students get 21 minutes each. And in the same way, the students get just 21 seconds of time to speak if the class size is 30. Whereas in the classroom with language lab, the students get 11 minutes each. Moreover, all the students in the class can speak simultaneously without disturbing each other regardless of the class size in the language lab. Thus, by the language lab, the students get more time to practice speaking, which will be helpful to acquire the knowledge of foreign language. Now, let us look at the advantages of language lab. Number 1. Learning a new language through language lab is practical. Here, the learners will be exposed to listening and speaking skills so that the learners will acquire the practical knowledge of the concerned language. Number 2. Students learn a new language much faster in the language lab. Since the language learning is very much practical, the learners learn the new language very quickly. Number 3. The teacher takes on a more important role in the language lab. Here in the language lab, the teacher facilitates, manages, controls the student activities such as speaking, listening, recording, etc. He is the person who provides learning material, and he is the person who assists the learners to acquire the new language through language lab. Hence, the teacher can be taken as an important component of language lab without whom one cannot think about the language lab. Number 4. Use more resources and varied activities than in a traditional classroom. Many resources like text, images, audio, video, etc. will be used in the language lab, which may not be used in traditional classroom. Varied activities like speaking, recording, and playing the recording is possible in the language lab. The learner can listen to his recording and can make self-assessment. Number 5. Language labs allow for diversity in the classroom. As is seen in the presentation, there will be diversity in the language lab class, which is not possible in traditional classroom. Number 6. Labs encourage communication in the classroom. Here in the language lab, the learners will get more and more opportunities to speak, that thereby they will get more and more opportunities for communication. Thus, the labs encourage communication in the classroom. 7. Language labs are an intuitive tool for both the student and the teacher. Intuitive is very easy to use and understand. The presentation in the language lab is very much easy to use and to understand also. Number 8. Language labs optimize computing resources. Language labs make the most effective use of computing resources by the way of attractive, interactive, and inspirational presentation in the language lab. Thus, we can summarize that language lab is an intuitive tool for learning a foreign language by providing more and more opportunities for listening and speaking the concerned language. References. The author is very much grateful to these URLs. Thank you, one and all.